Hello, team ASD Desk crew. It's Will, your friendly cheerleader and lecturer, and I'm going to give you some feedback and thoughts on your Canvas assignment. So, the short version is you did a great job, you got a really good mark, so we can forget about the stuff, we can forget about the rubric and all that kind of stuff, and just talk about the business. What I'm going to try and give you in this video is like three things. From a business perspective, how do I feel about your two canvases? What's the good? What's the bad? Are there any like gaps or anything? And then the next two bits are basically like, should you work on this next semester? Because I think that's a really important question to answer and think about. And then kind of 2B or number 3 is, if you should work on this next semester, like what do we do to make the idea work? Are there any blind spots? Are there any things you could do immediately? So I can get excited about either doing it or forgetting about it forever and doing something else. Now, hopefully I've gotten this right. You did the bulk of the work in this canvas where you were trying to sell to private primary school principals, and you did this mock-up, which makes me super duper happy, and then you decided the idea sucked, and so you built the second canvas. I think that's what I read in yours, so I'm just going to assume that's true and go from that basis. Sorry if I get this wrong. So let me start with the what I think is the first canvas. So as we spoke about on Zoom, selling to schools is really hard. I like that you've done something about self-regulation in the classroom, and it's very clear. It's like a desk that helps with sensory overload. I get it. Hopefully primary school principals will get it. I don't know how the money will work, but whatever. Looking at this canvas, I feel like the biggest strength of it is that it's very specific. So, like your second canvas, you've been really clear on what you're doing. So, people that care about kids with ASD and their carers and friends and families will give a shit about this, and everybody else won't, and that's really good. Like, I really like that for a lean canvas. I think the biggest weakness in this is actually your cost structure and revenue. So, from the notes that I read, this is like the total amount of money you could ever make with this idea based on this canvas. And the interesting about that, and I think you've already come to this conclusion, is that, it's just a bad business. If we can only ever make 13K from this business, not a couple of $1 million a year, then kind of what's the point? I also think you've totally undercooked your cost structure. And I think this cost structure is the same between your canvases, right? Yeah, cool. So they're vaguely different. I think that there might be a lot of problems in this area. Let me explain why. So if I look at your costs spreadsheet, right? You've understood what variable, fixed, and like different kinds of costs are, and that's awesome. So you're doing a bottom-up unit economics approach, i.e. figuring out how much each desk costs to make, and then going from there. A few little red flags I noticed in this is like, are you using an entire thing of wood glue for every desk? That doesn't make sense. And then your handy person cost, is this 1 hour of work at $175 an hour, which is kind of what I would expect? Can somebody make an entire desk, including finishing, in only 1 hour? And can they do it with only these tools? To me, like as soon as I read that, I got big red flashing alarm bells that it's just not possible. A desk like this that you're talking about looking at prototypes would take a day per desk to make, I would say, and require between $5,000 and $10,000 worth of tools. And I think that's okay, right? Maybe a way of thinking about this is that you just subcontract somebody else to do all of the work, and they use all of the tools that they've already got, and you pay cents on the dollar for the effectively like renting their tools. So yeah, I don't know, right? Like, and that makes me really worry about this thing of like initial desk or total desk cost. Like, it makes me think that maybe this is out by like double or triple. And if it's out by double or triple, then all of the other numbers go crazy. And the problem with that is it means that your like value proposition stops working, right? If the whole point of it is that we can sell it for under $700, and then we turn around to a customer and say, actually, it's going to be like $1,500, ouch. You know, I didn't actually see anything in the research about like how much does a desk cost. Like it may be that for something like this, it's like you could do just the foot swing for an IKEA desk or something like this. You know, maybe it's like a $60 add-on to any standard desk. when I was looking at your, where are we? Sorry, not your compiled research. Where are we? This thing. Um, this made me super happy, right? Because it's like I can see what the features are needed to solve the problem for your user, which is like some sensory deprivation, somewhere to put stuff, getting organized, awesome. And as I understand, your second canvas is selling this direct to people to put in the home. Um, awesome. Like so much better than trying to put this in a classroom. And also, it's so much easier to sell to parents than it is to sell to schools. Um, this is just this makes me want to give you full marks just for this, right? Because it's like you did a thing, and by looking at the thing and showing this picture to people like on your phone, we can play with ideas on how to solve this problem, right? So if I'm thinking from a parent point of view, it might be like, okay, so the specific problem I want to solve is a space for my kid to have a good study experience. Now, to do that, maybe I don't need the whole desk. Maybe it's just like a series of things that you can put on any existing desk. And then you can say, well, we recommend this desk for IKEA, or if you want really nice, something nice, this one, or a desk that you've already got. And we just add our stuff onto it. Maybe you've had these kinds of thoughts already, and I'm telling you how to suck eggs. But those are the kinds of thoughts that I have from this, which is awesome. So, point one, from a business perspective, what do I think and feel about the canvas and the work? I think it's really good. I think that choosing to pivot from schools to parents is awesome. I think it's also where you're more likely to begin for a viable business long term. So it might be that you are working with and selling to parents as early adopters, and then like later in the life of the business, you're selling to everybody else. I think the other interesting thing about this business is that you've focused on Australia, which I think is good, but I'd be really interested to see what your total addressable market is like globally. What are the amount of people in different places all over the world that have different variations of like are on the spectrum to different degrees? Like here's a really kludgy way of thinking about it. Like, can we make a product so good that people like me who are easily distracted want to get one just because we think it'll make us more productive? You know, I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's like that's often what happens with an idea like this, is that it's built for a very specific chunk of the market or the population, but it solves a problem so well that it becomes useful for everybody outside of that area. I feel like there's something like that in here. So yeah, I feel the canvas is really good. If I were to offer any criticism on this, it would be, yeah, I'm just not convinced on the cost and revenue. So if I was a mentor or like an investor, I would be like, well, let's get somebody who's good at money to help you with this stuff. But I'm going to trust that you've actually spoken to your customers and you're understanding their problems really well. And that's like the first tick for a mentor to decide to help a team is like, do you understand your customer problem? Mwah. Beautiful. Great work. I liked how specific you are with these channels, by the way. I thought this was really, really nice because it's like, I'm imagining now your website. Let me hold it up. So I'm imagining your website with just a whole bunch of quotes from different people that are trusted by your target audience. I feel like that's the one thing that's missing from here, right? Is like, great what it is, but then also like, where's the social proof of people like your audience that love the shit out of this product? So yeah, really good canvas. The numbers let you down. Should you work on this next semester? Yes or no? Now, obviously, the only answer to this is the answer you tell yourselves. It's totally up to you. If you put a gun to my head and ask my opinion, I'd say yes. I'd say I feel like it's an interesting product. When I look through your research and your customer discovery, I kind of had like two divergent thoughts on this. One of them was, could you look at creating a whole desk in a really cheap and replicable way? So making one product is much easier than making a really variable set of products. So when I look at your cost structure, I'm like, could you do this cost structure again, but do it from the point of view where you're just going to CNC make a desk out of plywood, where it's like, you know, one sheet of birch ply is slapped on a CNC table, you hit the route button, it creates the desk, You flat pack it just like you would an IKEA product. People get it, they assemble it themselves in their house. There's a few minor things to change. I don't know, the height of the seat for the kid or whatever, maybe like the height of the sides or whatever. And it's like you have 3 options on your website and people buy it. 3 days later, it appears at their door. I don't know, maybe it's made out of like recycled eco-friendly plywood or something. And it's like this one desk is the only thing you do. I feel like there's some guts in that, because then suddenly it's a thing that you could license overseas. You could, for example, have, I don't know, it's like made in Australia, used around the world. You know, I'd be interested where the biggest markets that can actually pay for this are. So I don't know, maybe like a Nordic country has a huge budget for doing this in classrooms, where they can just like put one in every single classroom because they have amazing budgets. Or maybe in America, it's one of these weird things where parents pay huge amount of money for their kids, so that the chance of them getting into an Ivy League school is high. I have no idea, right? But I'd be very interested to see what just production of the desk looks like. That's one point of view. The second divergent thought was like, I'd be interested to see how this idea would work as a series of small things that you don't have to ship. Because if I look at your costs, nowhere in here do I see posting an entire freaking desk to somebody, right? Part of the magic of IKEA is the flat pack. The flat pack and shipping. So IKEA are not just a furniture company, they're like a logistics company. And so nowhere in here do I see like shipping 50 to 60 kilograms of wood. However, if this is something that could be done with, say, like recycled plastic, or the components of your idea could be attached to an existing desk, or like, I don't know, God forbid, it's like you license the plans and people go to the nearest maker space and use a CNC to make it. I don't freaking know, right? But the idea of making it not a desk, I think, is an interesting way of thinking about this. At which point you come to the same thing that a lot of early stage businesses do, which is where the first product they think of, it almost like sets the tone for how the business might solve all of the problems of their customers one after the other. I want to Google an example for you, but that's going to make this video too long, so I'll just tell you. I was helping a team that were doing like, you know, the little balls that you use to like work out muscles in your neck, or like chiropractors use it to work out muscles. They basically were like, these things are really ugly, and so we're going to make them out of ethically sourced cork, and we're going to sell them. And so they started with just like a foam roller that people use for working out muscles, but then they realized there's actually like a series of things that people need for muscle tension, and they can make all of them. And so they looked at like yoga blocks and little like cork balls and different sized yoga mats, and their UVP was, it's not a shitty black piece of plastic. It's something beautiful enough that you would happily put it like next to your TV in your living room. And the really nice thing about it was they went, well, what is the broader problem that we can be involved with? And what is a series of products that we can sell over time, so that we aren't just putting all of our eggs in the one basket? And so they ended up with 3 or 4 different products. They dealt with the supply chain, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think that this business could be another one of those, where you're kind of going, okay, so the broader problem is helping kids with ASD succeed academically, or succeed in education. At which point it's like, I'd be interested to see, maybe you've already looked into this and there's a billion products already, but like, what is the suite of products that we could be involved with, and where's the best place to start so that we can win the trust of parents and eventually sell them more and more and more and more products. But maybe you've already thought of all of this. So, should you work on this next semester or not? I would say yes. Obviously, it's up to you. If I were to give you the counterpoint, it would be like, okay, what if you've done the 3 weeks of work on this and you just find you just don't care as much as you used to? That would be a good reason to not work on this. Not that it's too hard or that the technical problems are too difficult. Yeah, I would be being like, am I willing to work on this on the weekends for free because I really care about this kind of person and the problems that they face? Yeah, if you don't care, then don't work on it. That's kind of all I have to say. Let me just make sure I haven't forgotten anything. You did really great research. It made me sad to read so many words and think that you sat there late at night writing lots of words, but whatever. The prototype, Love it. It was my favorite thing. Uh, I love that you pivoted your idea. Um, Next time you pivot, I'd love to see you pivot even harder. You know, don't just go, okay, we're still building a desk. We're obsessed with this desk idea. We're just going to sell it in a slightly different way. Be like, maybe the desk is a bad idea. Maybe we've just got the swing. Because I saw in your research that a lot of people responded really positively to the swing. It's like, just do the swing. Don't do anything else. Do the smallest version of your idea you can. Um, that said, love your work. I love the way that you interacted with me in the class. I'm excited to see if you work on this. I hope you have a really great break. I hope you get this when you're not all stressed out about all of your other work. I hope this video wasn't too long. That's it. Have a great time. Bye.